let's see. And it only weighs 26.13 pounds. Hey guys, what's up? So I just barely hit over 200 posts, and so I'm going to start doing YouTube videos now. And I think it's about time that I compare and talk about some of the best bikes in 2020 that don't suck. So they're in no particular order, and the way I kind of judged it is the price to quality ratio. So if they're a really good price with really good quality, they made it on there. If they're expensive but they're still like really good quality to where it justifies that price point, it's going to be on there, okay? So let's get into it. So the first bike on the list of bikes that don't suck is going to be the Fiend Type R. It's the top line bike for them, and it costs quite a bit of money. It's over $700 at $709, but it's a really good bike. It's got crazy quality, a lot of aftermarket parts put in there. And let's see. So the Type R is intended for the advanced rider. It features 100% chromoly frame, forks, and bars. So the most important components, chromoly. Everything that can be chromoly is going to be chromoly on this bike. It's got 165 millimeter 3-piece cranks, sealed bearings, the Reynolds pivotal seat, Mission Mylar double wall rims, and a freecoaster hub. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, it's a good bike. Some of the highlights: full chromoly, double wall rims. It comes with 4 pegs, 4 hub guards. It's got fully sealed bearings, 3-piece cranks, and like I said, a free coaster. So it's $709, but it's worth that price because of those quality parts that I've mentioned. It's really not a ripoff. So this is like a pro-level bike designed to last pro-level riders a few years. It'll last beginners or mid-level riders a lot more than that. It's for the rider who I'd say is at about a mid to high level style of riding, and they just want to upgrade to get a better bike. So the one they have right now might be falling apart, or it might not be holding up to their level of riding. So they're going to look at this Type R bike and get something that's really going to last them and help them take it to the next level. The next bike on the list is the 2020 Wethepeople Crysis. This is one of the more popular bikes on my website, and a lot of people who are kind of looking for a new high-level bike look at this one. They send me a message, say, hey, is this a good bike? So I have to add it in here because it really is. It's a sleek and stealthy bike designed to rip it on all terrains with specs that can be found on the same bike that the pro teams are riding. You'll find generous helping of Wethepeople aftermarket parts, including 2.35 overbite tires, Logic sprocket, and now the Logic stem. So they also made it available in 2 different frame sizes. It's a 20.5 or a 21 inch. And let me tell you why this is cool. This is cool because smaller riders don't have to step up to a 21 inch. They can get a 20.5, which is going to suit their riding a lot better, where a taller rider can go with that 21. So a lot of high level bikes only come in like 20.7 or 21 inch top tube. So that really limits it to only being available for tall riders. So I think it's really cool that Wethepeople made this in a smaller option and a bigger option. It also looks really cool with the flat black. Some of the highlights: chromoly frame, forks and bars, sealed bearings. It's got aftermarket E-claw and salt parts, and it only weighs 26.6 pounds. And this is with 2 pegs, so that's a pretty light bike. Now it costs $660, and that's a good deal because, like I mentioned, the aftermarket parts. Getting any bike with aftermarket parts, like just the few that they mentioned in the overview, would cost you close to $200, I think. So just that right there saves you a ton of money by buying this complete. And it's for a rider who wants to take it to the next level. So usually this would be a good bike for a beginner level rider or a mid-level rider that wants to be able to ride at a higher level without breaking parts, because this is full chromoly. It's got the aftermarket stuff, so it's really going to do a lot better than like a mid-level bike with a tri-moly frame where it's not full chromoly. Alright, next is the 2020 Sunday Primer. And you might say, why is this on the list? This is a super cheap bike. And it is. However, it's a beginner level bike, and the quality to price ratio is there. Now it's only $369, which is really cheap, and it's not the best quality. So it's not full chromoly, not double wall rims. However, for a beginner level bike for $369, it's a good deal. So instead of getting a Walmart bike or like SE, I've seen some SE bikes that are the same level quality here for over $500. And that just blows my mind. So in comparison, that's why I put the Sunday Primer on the list. It's a serious starter bike at a great price. It's built around pro level geometry in a range of top tube sizes. It's spec'd with quality parts like the Springfield brakes, the Path Pro tires, and it also includes a fully sealed rear cassette hub and the Sunday Freeze top-load stem and the FSA headset. I love the Freeze stem. It's a really good stem. It was one of the first ones I bought because it was like $30 where most stems are around $70. And it lasts me, it's still on my other bike, so it's a great stem. The tires are good. So it's like $100 right there that you would have to spend on aftermarket parts. Probably 60 or 70, but I rounded up. Anyway, it's cool that they included that on a entry-level bike. Some of the highlights are the $329 low price point. It's got a longer chainstay, and then it comes in lots of top tube options so that it'll help any beginner rider find the perfect size bike. And that's super important because you don't want to be just starting out and end up with a 21-inch top tube, because that's not going to work out for you. It's going to make it harder to progress, harder to learn tricks and things like that. So it's good that there's options, and I have a size guide on my website. I'll post it below. If you need help figuring out which size is right for you, take a look at that, and then you can say, oh, I'm this tall, so I need this size. And that'll really help you out. Now, this bike also only weighs 25.7 pounds, and to me, that's just a little heavier than the Proton and lighter than the Type R, so that's pretty cool. Weight definitely makes a difference for you when you're just starting out, and in the long term, it still makes a difference because it's going to make you control the bike a lot easier. And like I said, it's a good deal because the quality to price ratio is really good. It's got a little bit of aftermarket parts, and it's also at like a super affordable price. This is easy to talk your parents into buying this for you for your birthday, for Christmas or whatever, just because it's such a low price. And then you can get into BMX. It's definitely only for beginner level riders though, because a medium to high level rider is going to break these parts, hands down. It's not going to last them very long. Now, beginner to mid-level rider, it's going to last you guys long enough to figure out if you want to stick with the sport. I always recommend you buy a cheap bike, you ride with your friends, you see if you like it, and if you fall in love with it, then go up and get a more expensive bike and really dig deep into the sport. But when you're just starting out, a $370 bike is going to work just fine for you. Next, the 2020 Kink Gap. This is really a rival to the Sunday Primer because it's in that same price point. It's a cheaper bike designed for beginner level riders at a low price. Now, one thing I really like about the Gap is that they give you a freecoaster or an XL option. So a lot of messages I get from riders who are trying to get into the sport more from older guys who are taller, so 6 foot or so, and they want to get into the sport, but they don't want to spend $1,000 on a bike. Totally understandable, right? So I say, hey, look at this kink gap. It's a good beginner level bike, and it comes in a 21-inch option. That's the XL version. It also comes in a freecoaster option. So you get the same specs just with the freecoaster. And I really love this, that they're doing that, because it's the same bike, the same concept, just in a little bit different options. And again, to me, that's really cool. And then each option has different colors. So like the freecoaster is black and red, I think, and the XL, I don't know what the XL is. So the Gap is a versatile machine ready to handle anything that you throw at it. It features modern geometry. The frame, fork, and bars add 4130 chromoly into the mix. So it's not full chromoly, but there is chromoly in there, which is a reason that this is on the list. They added a lot of aftermarket parts, like I mentioned, the bold HDR stem, the grizzly bars. These are chromoly parts. That's really cool. Let me check if it's... Okay, so the frame is full chromoly head tube, top tube, and down tube. So it's tri-moly. And for almost a $400 bike, that's actually amazing, I think. There's a lot of bikes that aren't even full chromoly for well over $500. So Kink has always done an amazing job with the quality and the price ratio. Some of the highlights, like I said, it has the XL and the freecoaster option. It's less than $400. It has aftermarket parts, which would cost around $60 to $70 if you bought them after. So let's say you buy the Sunday primer, you add these Kink aftermarket parts, it's going to be close to $70 or so. And then it has a 20.5-inch top tube, so it's a good middle. Just the normal one's 20.5. So if you're tall, you get the XL. If you're shorter, you get the 20.5. And then it only weighs 26.13 pounds. And that's with no pegs, so this is a little heavier than the Proton. However, that's still a good weight. Like 28 pounds is kind of pushing it, right? It's a good deal because of the aftermarket parts and the price point. For almost $400, you can get a bike with mostly chromoly, some aftermarket parts, and I think that's a crazy good deal. Now, over time, you might spend a little bit more money upgrading it, and that's fine because you got it for $380. And this bike's definitely for beginner level riders to mid-level riders, I'd say. It'll last you a few years for sure, but if you want to get a bike to ride around with your friends, see if you like the sport, this is the one for you. You don't need an $800 bike if you're just getting started out. And this one will do just fine. And then if you fall in love with it, look at upgrading it, look at getting new parts or things like that. All right, and the last bike on the list is the 2020 Cult Devotion. And let me tell you why I think that is. God, this chair sucks. One thing, full chromoly. So it's good for middle level riders, good for high level riders, good for beginners. And it only costs just a little over $500. And I think that the $500 is a really good price point where kids can convince their parents, like, hey, this is a good bike for Christmas. This is a good bike for my birthday. And then it's got a really good quality to price ratio, meaning it's totally worth the price because of the things I'll talk about. So anyway, I'm a huge fan of the Devotion because it gets a lot of people into BMX. And that helps with my mission of growing the sport ultimately. And so anything Cult Devotion, I say yeah. So it sits at the top of the Cult range. It's the highest quality Cult you can get in 2020. And it's put together with a range of aftermarket parts. It's got a 21-inch top tube frame. It's got chromoly bars, forks, and it's put together with a 9-tooth cassette rear hub, sealed front hub, sealed headset, chromoly cranks, sealed mid-bottom bracket. It's got the Cult Vans tires, ODI Vans grips, and the Salvation forged stem. Those are just some of the highlights of the aftermarket parts that they put on there. It's also, like I said, really good that it's full chromoly bars, forks, and frame, where the other bike was just tri-moly. This one's going to hold up when you're doing spins. The back end isn't going to bend like a tri-moly frame will. Some of the highlights: it's got full chromoly. It's not under $500, but it comes with double wall rims, and that's important for spins and whips and things like that. It comes with sealed bearings and 3-piece cranks. Like I said, it's just over $500, so it costs about $540, and I think that's a good price. I wish it was $499 or right around there. However, $540 is going to be just fine. It's that it only weighs 25 pounds. That's pretty good compared to a lot of other bikes in this this quality range are going to be closer to 27, 28. This bike's one of the lighter ones, and that's another reason that it's super popular. So yeah, it's a good deal because of the full chromoly. That's super important to have the full chromoly. The double wall rims keep the rims strong while you're doing your spins, and progressively dropping down bigger stair sets, bigger gaps, bigger drops. So it's built for someone who's trying to be a high level rider. Because of the specs, I'd say that it's going to last to a lot higher level of riding is like the Kink Gap or the Sunday Primer. Those are just mid-level bikes. This one's a step up, and it's for a really good price. So I'd say the Wethepeople Crysis is just a little bit better than the Cult Devotion. However, the Cult Devotion's over $100 cheaper. So you have to look at things like that when you're bike shopping. And then you just have to figure out, what do you want to do long term? Are you trying to get into the sport, ride for a long time? Or are you just trying to ride with your friends until you're out of high school? I don't know. That's something you need to look at. But this bike's for someone who wants to kind of take it to the next level, or who wants to stick with the sport for quite a long time. This is also a good bike you can buy and then upgrade parts later on. So you can add a lot like aftermarket cranks, aftermarket wheels, things like that, where I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that to a lower level bike because it's not worth it in the long run, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's Cult Devotion. Good bike. Alright, so in conclusion, those are some of the bikes that I've reviewed this year that I don't think are a piece of junk. And that's not to say that every bike that I didn't mention is junk, because there's a lot of good ones out there that I forgot to mention or that I just didn't have time for. So always, double check when you want to buy a bike. So, keep that in mind when you're shopping for a bike. Pop over to my website, double check the reviews, make sure you're not getting ripped off, because that's the number one thing that would make people hate the sport. Is buying a bike, you paying a lot of money, and then it breaks on you. Nobody wants that to happen. So don't get taken advantage of, guys. Make sure that you're making a good purchase and that your bike is worth the money. So if you guys like this, you want me to do more videos like this, I'm going to start working my way through all the reviews and kind of break down every bike that I wrote about and help you guys fully understand it. Sometimes I mess up, not very often, but however, if I do, leave a comment, let me know what I messed up on so I can make it right. I just want to help you guys get the best bang for your buck and fall in love with the sport. So another thing I'm doing is if you need help buying a bike, just follow me on Instagram and send me a DM. People say, hey, this is what level riding I'm at, this is my budget, what's a good bike? So then I go on here. It takes me a lot of time, but I love doing it. And I'll literally shop for a bike. I'll give you a few options, tell you why it's good, why it's bad. And I have a lot of fun doing that. So if you need help looking for a bike, follow me, send me a message, and I'll definitely help you out.